Have you ever wondered why pork is forbidden in Islam? This intriguing question opens up a fascinating exploration into the world of faith and food, where the sacred and the sustenance intersect. It's not just in Islam that pork is off the table. Judaism shares this restriction too. These dietary laws, known as kashrut in Judaism and halal in Islam, have deep roots in their respective religions. So, are you ready to delve into this intricate tapestry of belief and nourishment? Dive with us into this exploration of faith and food restrictions. The Islamic faith, like many other religions, has dietary laws, but what's unique about Islam is its comprehensive dietary code known as halal. Halal is an Arabic term meaning permissible, and it refers to anything that is allowed within the Islamic law, as defined in the Quran. It's essential to note that this code doesn't just touch upon the kind of food Muslims can eat, but it also delves into how the food is prepared, processed, transported, and sold. Now, among the many dietary restrictions defined in halal, one that stands out pertains to the consumption of pork. The law is clear and direct. Pork is forbidden. But where does this prohibition come from? The answer lies in the Holy Quran. It's in the 2nd chapter, verse 173, where the Almighty God decrees, "He has only forbidden to you dead animals' blood, the flesh of swine, and that which has been dedicated to other than Allah." This verse is a clear directive, an unambiguous guideline that outlines the prohibition of pork consumption for Muslims. The Quran, being the foundational source of Islamic jurisprudence, leaves no room for interpretation on this matter. The directive is clear-cut, and it's followed strictly by Muslims worldwide. It's a part of their faith, a tenet that's observed with utmost diligence. To understand why this particular rule is in place, it's crucial to appreciate the broader philosophy of halal. The halal dietary code is not just about food, it's about promoting cleanliness, purity, and overall well-being. It's about ensuring that Muslims consume what is good and healthy and abstain from what could potentially harm them. In essence, the prohibition of pork in Islam is not just a random dietary restriction. It's a reflection of the religion's deep-rooted emphasis on health, cleanliness, and purity. It's about aligning one's dietary habits with the broader principles of the faith and living a life that's in harmony with the divine laws. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, explicitly forbids the intake of pork. But why pork? What's the religious reasoning behind this prohibition, you may ask? Well, let's journey into the heart of Islamic teachings to uncover the rationale behind this. From the Islamic perspective, pigs are considered impure and unclean. As a result, consuming their meat is seen as sinful. This concept is deeply rooted in the Islamic principles of taharat and najasat, representing purity and impurity respectively. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, clearly states in its 2nd chapter, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 173, "He has only forbidden to you dead animals, blood, the flesh of swine, and that which has been dedicated to other than Allah." This verse unequivocally prohibits the consumption of pork. This prohibition isn't arbitrary or baseless. In fact, it's based on an intricate system of ethics, rituals, and beliefs that govern Muslims' lives. The concept of taharat signifies the state of spiritual and physical cleanliness, a state that is highly revered and sought after in Islam. It's a manifestation of Muslims' commitment to leading a life of purity, wholesomeness, and moral righteousness. On the flip side, najasat represents impurity. It's considered a state that Muslims should strive to avoid. The pig, in Islamic belief, embodies this state of najasat. Therefore, its consumption is seen as a violation of the sacred pursuit of taharat. Moreover, the prohibition of pork is not exclusive to Islam. It's interesting to note that similar restrictions exist in other Abrahamic religions. For instance, within Judaism, the Torah also forbids the consumption of pork. This prohibition, therefore, is not merely about dietary preference, it's about maintaining a state of spiritual and physical purity, and aligning one's actions with the divine commandments. It's about respecting and adhering to the guidelines set forth by one's faith. In the eyes of Islam, the pig is seen as a symbol of impurity. It's a tangible representation of the things that Muslims, in their quest for taharat, should strive to avoid. And that, in essence, is the religious reasoning behind the prohibition of pork in Islam. But is there more to this prohibition than just religious beliefs, you might wonder? As we delve into the health concerns associated with pork consumption, it becomes clear that this prohibition is not only rooted in faith, but also in the well-being of individuals. Pork, like any other meat, can carry diseases. However, some health risks are particularly associated with this type of meat. One such disease is trichinosis, a parasitic disease caused by roundworms. When undercooked or raw pork infected with the parasite, Trichinella spiralis is consumed, it can lead to symptoms such as abdominal pain, diarrhea, fever, and muscle soreness. In severe cases, it can even cause heart and breathing problems. Then there's Yersiniosis, another illness linked to pork. It's caused by the bacterium Yersinia enterocolitica, found in undercooked pork products. Symptoms can range from fever and abdominal pain to more serious complications like arthritis or septicemia, a life-threatening blood infection. Other diseases, such as Taenia solium infection, can also be contracted from consuming undercooked or raw pork. This condition can lead to a serious brain disorder known as neurocystis urcosis, which can cause seizures and other neurological problems. It's important to note that proper cooking can kill many of these parasites and bacteria. However, the risk remains, and for some, the potential health consequences outweigh the culinary pleasure. Islam, being a holistic religion, is deeply concerned about the physical, mental, and spiritual health of its followers. It discourages practices that could harm the body or mind, and this includes the consumption of pork. The Islamic dietary laws, known as Halal, are designed to promote health and cleanliness, emphasizing the respect for the bodies we've been given. So, when we consider the health risks associated with consuming pork, it becomes clear why the religion would discourage its consumption. It's not just about adhering to religious doctrine, it's about protecting the well-being of individuals and communities. The prohibition of pork in Islam is not just a matter of faith, but also a matter of health. This perspective not only deepens our understanding of the Islamic dietary laws, but also underscores the intrinsic link between faith and well-being in this holistic religion. Let us debunk some common misconceptions about the Islamic prohibition of pork. First off, a prevalent myth is that Muslims despise pigs. That's not the case. Islam, like many religions, has dietary rules and restrictions. These rules are not born out of hatred for any creature, but out of a respect for divine commandments. Pigs in Islam are seen as God's creatures, just like any other. It's merely the consumption of their meat that is prohibited. Another common misconception is that all Muslims strictly adhere to this prohibition. While it's true that the ban on pork is a fundamental aspect of Islamic dietary laws, the level of adherence can vary greatly among individuals. Some Muslims may choose to follow these laws to the letter, while others may interpret and apply them differently. It's important to remember that, like all religions, Islam is not monolithic. Its followers hail from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and individual beliefs. A third myth worth addressing is the idea that pork is forbidden because it is unhealthy. This isn't entirely accurate. While there are indeed health risks associated with consuming pork, particularly when it's not properly cooked, these are not the primary reasons for its prohibition in Islam. The prohibition is religious in nature, stemming from directives found in the Quran. Lastly, it's a common misconception that the prohibition of pork is unique to Islam. In reality, several other religions and belief systems also have dietary restrictions, including prohibitions on certain types of meat. For instance, Judaism also prohibits the consumption of pork, and many branches of Hinduism forbid the eating of any meat at all. So as we unravel these misconceptions, it becomes clear that the prohibition of pork in Islam is a complex issue, influenced by religious doctrine, personal interpretation, and cultural context. It's not about hating pigs or blindly following rules, it's about individual beliefs, religious devotion, and respect for divine commandments. As with any religion, the interpretation and application of rules can vary greatly among its followers. So what have we learned about the Islamic prohibition of pork? We've journeyed through the intricate layers of this topic, exploring its religious roots and health implications, dispelling myths along the way. We started by understanding the Islamic stance, that pork is considered haram or forbidden according to the Quran, the holy book of Islam. This prohibition is not unique to Islam, but is shared among several religious traditions, underscoring its deep-seated cultural and historical significance. Next, we delved into the religious reasoning behind this prohibition. The Quran explicitly mentions the prohibition of pork, reinforcing the concept of ritual purity in Islam, which extends beyond physical cleanliness and into spiritual and dietary realms. This is a testament to the comprehensive nature of Islamic teachings, which guide adherence in all aspects of life. Then we examined the health concerns associated with pork consumption. From potential diseases and parasites to high levels of unhealthy fats, we discussed how these health risks align with the Islamic emphasis on maintaining the body's health and purity. Finally, we debunked some common misconceptions. We clarified that the prohibition of pork is not due to disdain for pigs or the belief that they are inherently dirty or evil. Rather, it is a religious directive aimed at maintaining spiritual and physical well-being. While the prohibition of pork in Islam is clear, its interpretation and application can vary, showing us the diversity and complexity of this faith.